So let's start the recording. So as people come in, we're going to do some brief intros. Again, my name is DJ. I've been with Touchpix support for the past a little bit over 3 years now since the app launched. I'm based out of California, so I know we have people from all over the different areas of the state. Some people probably log in from outside the US, so welcome. We will be covering mirrorless DSLR cameras today. Just want to welcome everybody onto this live webinar. With me, I have my co-host. I'll let him unmute himself and introduce himself.
Hey, thanks, DJ. Hi, everybody. My name is Julian. I'm from Mexico, based in Mexico, and I'm part of the Touchpix support team. I'm being with Touchpix from 1 year and 4 months now. So I've been in the process of the WhatsApp and also the lines, and now with the chat, and now helping DJ with the webinars. So I'm here to help you and hope you enjoy this webinar today.
Yeah, thanks, Julian. Yeah, so Julian is a huge asset. If you guys have any questions, he will be manning the chats. I try to answer any questions you guys may have. We are going to cover DSLR, or mirrorless cameras, which is kind of my personal favorite with Touchpix, and I'll explain why. I definitely want to welcome everybody onto the call. I'm going to be calling names. If you just want to unmute yourself and introduce yourself, let me know where you're from and maybe what you want to learn on today's webinar. We will be covering the DSLR mirrorless topic. So I have, let's go. I see some familiar names. I see Christopher. Christopher, if you want to unmute, introduce yourself. What do you want us to cover today? And welcome. Right, I don't think Christopher has his mic on, but if maybe we can come back to him. I have another caller with the name of Key. If you want to unmute yourself, introduce yourself. Where are you from, and what do you want to learn from today's webinar?
Good evening. I am from Atlanta, and I am interested in expanding to the DSLR booth. So I wanted to get some more information before actually embarking on that particular journey.
Perfect. Well, welcome from Atlanta, Key. Nice to have you on the call today, and hopefully you can leave this webinar with some more knowledge into making that decision for you and your business. So welcome.
Hey, it's Chris here. I don't know if you could hear me.
We can hear you now, Chris. How you doing?
Hey, it's good, man. Here from Stockton again. So Stockton, California. Nice to hear from you, DJ. But as for me, I just wanted to see, I've been using the iPhone lately and doing more outdoor events. So haven't really dabbled into the DSLR, but just to figure out the hookup, batteries, things like that, keeping it charged, and I guess the best specs for it to use.
Awesome. Nice to hear from you again, Chris. You're just a rock throw away from me, so definitely yes. Very close. So yeah, hopefully we're going to answer all your questions, and if you have any more, feel free to ask. Let's go with I hope I'm pronouncing this right. Excuse me if I'm not. It's Arnitra's Motion Photo Booth. If you're able, please unmute yourself. Tell us who you are, where you're from, and what you're trying to learn today.
Oh, hello. I'm Arnitra Grady. I'm from Wrightsville, Georgia, and I'm hoping to learn more about the DSLR and GoPro, if that's something that y'all are going to discuss tonight.
Perfect. Well, welcome, Arnitra. Looks like we have two from Atlanta. We will be covering the DSLR. Maybe we're going to link a link on the chat. We did cover GoPro on a completely different webinar, but we'll link you to that link. Each device has specific ways of sequencing with the software, and it's important that you recognize the differences between both of them. Although they're very similar, they do have some differences on the way they connect. We will supply you with the link. That way you can just go to the GoPro webinar that we just did a few weeks back, and you can compare and contrast with today's webinar. But welcome, thank you for taking time out of your night and attending this webinar.
Thank you.
The rest, I see a VR Squad Inc. If you want to unmute yourself, VR Squad, and let us know where you're from and what you're trying to learn in today's webinar.
Hello, hello. I am Kang. I'm with VR Squad Inc. Got my annual subscription with Touchpix earlier this year at the convention. So looking to go on here, learn more about the Mirrorless. I've been using it, but I'm having a little bit of issues between the connection of my Mirrorless with the iPad.
Okay.
Yeah, I constantly have a disconnection, even though it's wired. So I'm not sure what
Okay.
the problem is.
We're
But yeah,
we're gonna solve those issues for you hopefully today. Where are you from?
from California,
Got it.
Bay
Okay.
Area.
Bay
Right.
Area. Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So I've been using Touchpix for most of my 360 works pretty perfectly. But that is wired to a GoPro.
Perfect.
But this one is wired to a mirrorless for my photo booth, and it's that's the problem. So yeah, I'm looking to learn more about that.
Thank you and welcome. Another West
All right,
Coast guy from California. Hopefully, I'm pretty confident we'll get you up and rolling with maybe some inconsistencies with the disconnect. I think I may know what that may stem from, but you will see an example of my process in hooking everything up. And I've used it for quite some time. I'm also based out of California, and you know, I rarely have issues. I typically have issues when I'm going to an event and I'm in a hurry and I forget a certain step, but we'll definitely clear up any issues. And if I haven't resolved your issue, feel free to shoot us a question in the chat, and I'll make sure I specifically tune into that specific issue. So welcome. I have 3 different callers that say iPhone. I don't know who wants to go first. If you want to unmute yourself and just introduce yourself. I don't have names on the screen. There's just 2 or 3 different callers that say iPhone.
Okay, I'm Antoine with Photos of Us Booth Rental.
Okay.
I'm out of Baltimore, Maryland, and I just wanted to learn the basic of the DSLR hookup. I did it like a couple of times, about 2-3 times.
Perfect.
And I wound up getting the M50. I saw your hookup. I said it was real nice. I said, let me try that.
Perfect.
So I just wanted to perfect everything.
Well, welcome, Antoine, out of Baltimore. Thank you again for taking the time, and we're going to get your questions up and rolling. Welcome. I see a second iPhone. If you want to go ahead and unmute yourself and introduce yourself, if you can. And I think we just have 2 more introductions, and then we'll get started. All right, let's go with, I see a Keish D. If you want to unmute yourself, introduce yourself, where are you from, and what you want to learn from today's webinar.
Hello, this is Kish. My business is PowerShot Images. I'm based out of Atlanta. I have the digital iPad, and I am a photographer as well. So I'm just trying to maximize everything, every equipment that I have with Touchpix as much as I can. So I'm just trying to get the basis of how it works and how I could use it within my businesses.
Perfect. Thank you, Kish. And I apologize for mispronouncing your name, but welcome on the call. We're going to get you sorted and explain the process for you. So definitely, thank you for taking the time. We're about to get started with the webinar now. I know some people are just joining late, but we will get started just because I do value your time. So I'm going to share a screen here, and I'm going to start off with a video here because let me see if you guys are able to do that. Okay. You guys able to see that? How to use DSLR? Let me see, I think there's a lag here. I'm going to share the screen one more time here. Perfect. Okay. So I'm going to walk you through this. I made this video today, and the reason I made this video and I'm not showing it live, which I can show live right after this video, is because typically when I'm live, I'm working with one hand and it gets a little confusing for people to understand. So this video will be shareable. I'm going to narrate over the video and explain the process of how everything works. Okay, so I'm going to take my time. And first and foremost, I love it because I can pause on certain parts of the video. And these are the cables that I'm going to recommend if you're using an iPhone. Obviously, if you're using an iPad with a USB-C input, then you're going to get the appropriate dongle. In this case, I'm using a Lightning to USB dongle. And for those of you that are familiar with using GoPros, for the GoPros, we recommend a single USB dongle. For DSLR, we can recommend this specific Apple dongle, which has a USB and a charging pass-through. The second item I'm going to recommend, and I'm going to link these towards the end of the webinar. I'll provide links of where you can get the cables, the exact battery that I use, the exact cables that I use. That way you have exactly what I'm using in this webinar. And this has been proven. This is the equipment that I use at the Photo Booth Expo in Las Vegas every year, where we have and show off all of our connections with different cameras. So this has been proven equipment. So in this case, you're going to need the Apple dongle, Lightning to USB if you're using your iPhone, right? I'm going to recommend this battery here. You're going to see a close-up of this battery. This doesn't show it too well right now, but this battery has a USB power out and in. You can charge it or it can power out, and it has two USB plugs here, right? Aside from that, I'm also going to recommend this cable here. On one end, it's a Lightning cable, and on the other end, it's USB-C. This has been proven specifically on working on keeping your iPhone charged. So this USB-C cable is going to be plugged in here. The other end is going to power up your iPhone to keep it nice and charged all the time. I don't have success. If you were to buy a Lightning to regular USB-A cable, I haven't had much success on that connection. That's why I'm recommending a USB-C to Lightning cable. The USB-C seems to be a higher powered cable that will allow that pass-through charge to happen. The other cable that you will need is regular USB. I like to buy this specific data cable. It comes with a Farad. I get it from a company called monoprice.com. It's about a $3 cable from Monoprice. So this is going to be connected to my Canon M50, right? If you're using an M6, it's a similar cable, but the other end, instead of micro USB, it's going to be a USB-C. I'm going to be using a M50 camera on this tutorial because I'm familiar that most of you may have that camera. It's probably easier accessible than the M6, but you can use, the same applies. Give me a sec, let me close my door. There's a train passing by right now. I don't want it to be too distracting. So the M50 is a pretty standard mirrorless camera. Will this work on DSLRs T2, T3, T4, T5? Yes, definitely. It'll work on the T6 as well. The cables might be a little different because some DSLRs, depending on how old they are, they might have what's called a mini USB. In this case, it's a micro USB. The newer cameras have a USB-C, right, on this end, but they all ultimately on the opposite end have a USB. So recommending this cable to charge your iPhone, recommending this cable for the mirrorless M50 camera, micro USB to USB-A with the Farad. I feel that has better connection, right? So I'm going to go ahead and show this. So this is the first three items that, or four items that I'm going to show here. There's one more cable that we need. And this next cable, you can also get it on Amazon. So I'm just showing you how it's a Lightning dongle. It's a micro USB similar to the old Androids connection, lightning port, and the battery has a USB in and out with 2 USBs. The other cable you're going to need is this cable here. You can look at Amazon for what's called they're called dummy batteries for the mirrorless cameras. Most cameras have them. In this case, when you look at Amazon, we'll link some of the links below. This is a dummy battery. So this battery is actually kind of hollow and power runs through the wire. And on the other end of the wire, it's a USB connection. So you can actually power your camera with your power bank, with the same power bank right in here. So I'm showing you here, it goes to the side of your battery. Once you connect this cable to the side of your battery, I'm actually connecting the power cable here, the USB cable. I'm gonna go ahead and do the power through, and I'm gonna plug it into the dongle, and you're gonna see this charge now. You see that? It's taking the charge from this battery into the dongle onto your phone. So your phone's gonna stay nice and charged. Now I'm grabbing the camera, and I'm plugging the camera into this dongle here. So this is what's gonna control the connection. Lastly here, I'm gonna plug in power to the camera. I'm plugging in the power to the camera here. The other end, you see it's plugged in right here into the camera. So I'm just gonna show you that's where I need to be. To connect for slow motion, to connect your slow motion settings, you saw that I turned the dial over to the video mode on your Canon M50 mirrorless camera. Make sure you turn it on to video mode. There's a couple of settings that I'm gonna recommend you do before you start. On this settings, you're gonna click on the menu button of the camera, sub-menu number 1. You're gonna wanna go down to movie mode and make sure that the high frame rate is enabled. Once it's enabled, you're gonna be able to shoot at basically 120 frames per second. The camera is doing the heavy lifting. That's all you need to do to shoot slow motion with the M50. Make sure it's on the video mode and make sure that the setting is set to the M50. Video mode, and the video is set to high frame rate, I'm sorry. So this next step of the video is for people that are interested in using it in photo booth mode. There's several different settings that I'm gonna recommend you set your mirrorless camera to, right? As you saw, I'm gonna see if I can rewind just a tad bit here. And I now switched the toggle for photo booth mode onto the manual setting, right? So I'm just went ahead and toggled it over to manual. And when we reach the sub menu here, in my case, it's gonna ask you what size do you wanna, the file size that you wanna shoot. In my case, I shoot large. You can shoot a smaller file size if you want, but in my case, I like to shoot large files. I like to keep some of the originals. I like how crisp they look. I like to give those to my clients. So in my case, I like to shoot in large file format, right? That's in subsection 1. You can shoot any of these types of size. And then from there, I'm gonna hit menu again and go into subsection 2. So subsection 2, there's a couple of things here that I'm gonna recommend. Typically, if you own a photo booth or trying to get into photo booth use with Touchpix, just like any other photo booth software, typically the flash that's on your camera is not gonna be enough. So you're gonna need some type of maybe strobe flash, right? Some strobe or some type of supplemental flash. So you wanna make sure that once you go into that second menu, you're gonna go ahead and go into flash firing mode. Make sure that the flash firing mode is enabled, right? That's gonna be able to detect that you have some type of trigger on your camera to shoot into the strobe, right? The other important element is your white balance. For people that are professional photographers that are on this call, I'm by no means a professional photographer. I've learned just probably the same way a lot of you have learned, just through trying to dive into the camera settings and trial and error. But I do understand that white balance is extremely important. It doesn't hurt if you go into Amazon and you buy what's called a white balance gray card. They're super small. They're great to carry with you. What you never want to do is set your white balance to automatic. It can vary from venue to venue depending on your lighting. You want to be able to set your own white balance, and the way I set my white balance is buying a gray card, a gray white balance card. You can research that on Amazon. And when you're taking your test shots, you're going to zoom into the gray card, and that's going to set the best white balance for that specific environment. So in this case with the white balance, once you go into the white balance settings, you're going to see automatic white balance, you're going to see daylight, you're going to see cloudy, you're going to see a bunch of different options of lighting. And in my case, what I would recommend if people are using flashes for their photo booth is set the white balance to flash, right? Because it's gonna, once you trigger a few test shots, it'll set the best white balance for your specific setup, okay? So that would be flash control, white balance would be some of the stuff that I definitely recommend. Now, I toggled over to submenu number 6 because I think a lot of people overlook this. Working support, I get a lot of calls saying, hey, my live view doesn't work well, or it looks very dim, it looks very dark. Typically, when you buy a Canon M50 camera, I have a few, and they all came with the exposure simulation enabled as default. So they all have this enabled. So what I would recommend is if you toggle to submenu 6, you go into exposure simulation, and you want to disable it because it's probably going to be enabled, right? And this is going to actually give you what your live view is seeing as far as white balance. Exposure simulation simulates your white balance. Maybe if there's within a flash setting, right? It gives you a simulation of what it could look like with some adjustment. If you turn that off, it's going to give you exactly what you see through the viewfinder of your camera. So those are the main settings that I recommend in setting up your settings for the Canon M50 camera. Before making the connection to your camera M50, first and foremost, I'm always going to recommend the proper Apple dongle. Secondly, I'm always going to recommend this micro USB cable with the ferrite in here. I feel like it's a solid cable. It's meant for data transfer, and the connection is going to be solid. But before you make that third step connection with your Canon M50 is first go to whatever device is going to be controlling your camera, right? And make sure that initially, before the connection is made, you turn off your Wi-Fi. Turn off the Wi-Fi. Sometimes it will work with the Wi-Fi on, but often than not, you're going to get a hiccup if you leave the Wi-Fi on before making the connection. Once you make the connection and it's connected, then you can toggle the Wi-Fi on and it'll work without any issues. But before making the connection, it's important as a support agent to let you know, make sure that that Wi-Fi on your device is off. So this is what I'm doing here. I'm just turning off the Wi-Fi. I then go into my camera settings here. I'm going to go ahead and explain a couple things here. I'm going to make a connection with the camera on landscape mode, right? I'm going to toggle DSLR. I'm going to hit connect DSLR. If you're shooting in a portrait angle, obviously your camera is not going to be landscape like this. You may want to activate portrait mode here, depending on the orientation that you're switching your camera, okay? The other thing that you're gonna wanna toggle on is your live view. You wanna be able to see your live view, so make sure that that is on. Session after shutter is a great feature. I'm just gonna explain what it does briefly, but it's really different than having your camera inside a photo booth. The session after shutter just means that if you wanna be like a roaming photographer and have maybe your phone hanging off your neck and just go around and start shooting some shots, and it automatically will place them into a template. Basically, you can turn on session after shutter, and it'll definitely process without needing for the countdown to kick in. So this is a great way to roam around events as a professional photographer and kind of give your client an end product with the template ready to share with the QR code, you know. That's what it's meant for, okay? But in this case, it's slow motion. I have my camera in landscape, so I have all of these off. I only have live view on. And if you notice, I had turned my camera off And once I hit connect, I'm gonna go ahead and turn my camera on. You'll see that right now. DSLR, I'm gonna hit connect to DSLR. I just turned my camera on. It's giving me a warning. And you see, once you see this signal here, let me go back one more time just so you guys can see that. Right when you see that signal here, the little computer popping up, that means that you have a correct cable, correct dongle, and it's in USB mode, okay? Everything's gonna work great once you see this thing. If you don't see this symbol here, there's something going on either with your dongle or with the USB cable that you have for that specific camera, okay? It's connecting, it connected, and I'm ready to go. So I'm gonna do a quick little test here. It's testing, it just shot to shot. And look what happens here. I used one of our features in our software here, right? You can see it. I'm gonna process it right now. And one of our features in our software is the automatic background removal. I shot it into a blank wall and it removed the background for me, right? So I'm gonna explain on how you can capitalize with this add-on feature because you can charge more money for this feature, right? You no longer have to take backdrops if you don't want to. What I would recommend though, don't try this when it's a busy, your setup location is pretty busy, meaning that there's gonna be people in the background because it's gonna capture different faces. This is meant to be used when your background maybe it's like hitting a wall of some sort where you're not going to capture background faces, right? So I'm going to show you exactly how to do this, and you can actually upsell now your packages because Touchpix doesn't charge you any extra money to use to remove the background feature. It's absolutely free. So you can either shoot it with a backdrop, but since I'm shooting it as an example here on this call, I'm using a plain wall here that's located in my home, and you can see that it turned it over to the city of Chicago. And I'm actually going to do a demo with my daughter in this video, then you can see exactly how that looks, right? So this is how you actually load that specific setting. You're going to go into settings, you're going to toggle over to the sub menu number 5, right? First of all, what I would recommend you do if you're going to be shooting with the remove your background, whatever template that you're using. A lot of people like to use vertical templates for slow motion. Now, if you're using photo booth, you might want to use something a little bit more neutral. In this case, my template was a square template. It was a 1072 by 1072. You can also use a 1080 by 1080. And what I mean by those numbers, those are pixels. So when you're designing your artwork, you're picking the template that's square, 1072 by 1072. So now what I did, once I picked that template on my software, I'm just uploading a blank template on Touchpix, right? On touchpix.com, blank square template. So what you need to do is whatever background image you want to use, whether you buy it on Adobe, the Adobe website, whether you buy it through a different website, there's a lot of high resolution images. What you want to do is make sure that that specific image is the same size as your template. So being that the example I showed you was a 1072 by 1072 pixel template, my image was 1072 by 1072 actual picture, right? Once I obtain that picture, I store it on my device, meaning I save it or I email it to myself, and then I have it saved on my iPhone. So once you go into Touchpix, you're gonna go into subsection number 5 under settings where it says photo effects. And you're gonna click on remove background high quality. I have mine in my files. This is it here, the city of Chicago. And now it highlights it, it's great. So the second section is for those people that are gonna be wondering how to load animated overlays for 360 use, right? The second example is if you go to subsection 6 in Touchpix under video effects, I picked overlay alpha as the effect. I had my overlay alpha designed by one of our designers that is heavily, he's heavily used in our Touchpix group. You can use whoever you want, but in this case, this design was made by Matt Calvert at boothmotion.com. He specializes in animated overlays. So he makes my design according to my specifications. Then he sends me an email. I download that email of that design and my outro, and I save it onto my phone. And once it's on your phone, you're gonna go to Touchpix, Video Effects, Overlay Alpha. And as soon as it's on Overlay Alpha, it's asking me where it's located. I'm selecting the Overlay Alpha. Now I'm selecting the outro video, and I uploaded both outro videos and animated overlay. Now I'm going to do a live example of both features, now that they're loaded here, right? I'm starting with photo. This is my lovely assistant, my lovely daughter. I had my flash on here from the camera, and you can see that's how it processes the file. I just shot the shot. There's the city of Chicago, right? If I had a better flash, maybe like a photo booth strobe flash, all of these shadows here would be gone, right? But the fact that I just used the on-camera flash, this is just to give you an example of the capabilities of how Touchpix works, and it cuts it out near perfect. The better lighting, the better flash you have, the better quality image you're gonna have at the end. So this is a phenomenal feature. A lot of you can use it to upsell to your clients. It's gonna bring you more money, more business, and you don't need to lug around a huge backdrop if you don't want. It's just a matter of you choosing what backdrop or what backdrop image you wanna use for that specific event. So now I'm gonna do an example of the photo booth side. I'm sorry, the slow motion side. So in this case, one of the most important things on the video booth would be, I get questions, can you use your M50 to shoot photos and to do slow motion video at the same time? The question to that is a kind of a yes or no answer. So automatically, it won't do it by itself. The GoPro 10 does it really well by itself, where it toggles from video and it toggles to photos by itself. But using a mirrorless camera such as the M50, it's not quite that simple. You're gonna have to turn the dial. More than likely, I would recommend you turn off the camera, turn the dial over to the video side, make the connection, and then shoot a video mode. So you do have to turn the dial manually. And this is kind of what I'm doing here is I'm gonna turn the dial, I turned the dial manually. And in this case, she's moving, right? And this is where the animated overlay is gonna kick into effect. It processed the video file, and this is the animation. It's adding the boomerang, blending the videos, doing what it needs to do, the outro video. And this is the outcome, right? This is something that I recently did at one of our events. It has an animated overlay, but as you can see, the camera does the heavy lifting. It already shoots it in slow motion, and you're basically good to go after that. You just have to make them, and there's that outro video that I loaded, right? So that's typically how you connect a mirrorless camera M50 to Touchpix to use with both photo booths and your slow motion 360. Was that video helpful as an illustration? I know this is a cleaner way for me to present it because I'm not connecting things live, and it just gives me the option to rewind in the event people want to see a little bit more. You guys have any questions on that? Did that seem pretty easy for you to follow and understand on how the connections work?
Hey, DJ, it's Chris.
Hey, Chris, what's up, man?
Hey, I do have a question. At the beginning of the video, you went to the menu board on the M50, and what I noticed, I actually have mine on while I'm kind of doing this. It didn't populate. It only populated like 5 different functions on that first area. Is there an update that I should be doing? I noticed yours had like 6 or 7.
Okay, let me see. So I guess the first question I'm going to ask you was, what dial is your camera in?
It's in video.
It's in video mode. Okay, so let me try.
Almost looks like a little cow.
Let me try to do this live. I'm gonna go ahead and share my setup real quick.
Okay.
And see if I can just walk it with you here. All right, here we go. Looks like you guys are able to see that, right? So this is where I have my setup here. Let me just plug it into power and see what we can get here. So I'm gonna go through this menu with you. I have a lens cap on there too. So, okay, so we're gonna, what menu do you have it on, video or manual?
A video.
Okay, and so the video settings, right? For the video settings, you're only going to be shooting slow motion. So what I recommend, if you have it on video, which mine is, you hit menu once, right? Let me take off the lens cap because it's not letting me go through. Let's see. Back here. Busy. Oh, give me a sec here. Let me disconnect it real quick. Okay. Let's go over to video mode. If you hit menu on video mode, do you not see subsection 1 like I do?
I do, but see how yours has subsections up to 9, I think.
Okay. So I might have it on advanced settings. Let me just confirm that for you real quick. There is what's called, there's two menus. There's one for like basic. I think that might be a default, and I might have the advanced settings. So where do you see? Do you see yours from 1 through 5, or what number?
Yeah, so mine is highlighted on the camera in the first section that you had, which is in red.
Okay.
And then so the first thing I have on mine under camera, under the video, is shooting mode.
Under the video.
Yeah.
Let me go
so
back.
yeah. So go to subsection 1. I think that's what you're in.
I'm in now. I'm in subsection 1 now.
It looks like you're in further on.
Yeah.
I think you're there. You go.
Trying to go back here. So do you not see the movie record quality?
Yeah, I see. It says shooting mode, movie record quality is the second one. Now that's where you switch it.
Correct. Movie record quality. You switch it and you enable high frame rate.
Enable high frame rate. Okay, got it. Okay, perfect.
And then after that, if you want to make any of the changes to the other settings, you're going to have to set your dial over to manual, and then hit the menu button there, and you'll be given more options. So as you can see on manual, the record quality only goes up to 30 frames per second.
Got it.
No problem.
Perfect. Thank you.
Okay. Anybody else have questions regarding this?
Could I ask one more real quick? I'm sorry.
Sure, it's okay.
I was going to ask you, what is the preferred lens for the M50?
Well, that's kind of a loaded question, man. But I will tell you the ones that I use specifically, because I don't mind sharing the lenses that I use. And I've been experimenting with a few lenses. So I have, I don't know if you can see it. It's an 11 by 22 millimeter lens, right? I love this lens. It gives you the wide angle needed, right? So I do recommend the 11 by 22. And I also love the way this lens looks. And I know this lens is a little larger, but I definitely love this lens. This lens here is a Sigma lens, and it's a 16 millimeter Sigma lens. F-stop is I think it's like 1.8. So it's a nice low light lens. I love them both. It really depends on the scenario where I'm going to be shooting. They both work phenomenal. So Sigma 16 millimeter or Canon 11-22.
And the kit lens that comes with the M50 with like a regular like Best Buy purchase is sufficient?
Well, it might not be as wide. That's why I went with 11-22. It's sufficient for photo boothing. Like if you're going to be putting it in a photo booth, that's perfect. The kit lens is perfect for that. But if you're going to be wanting to shoot and capture a little bit of a wider angle without having to crank your 360 arm all the way at a certain angle, then you're going to need a wide angle lens of some sort.
Got it. Thank you.
No problem. Anybody else have any questions? Was that video pretty helpful? Anything I can answer?
I have a question.
Okay.
When you switch to portrait mode, would the live view orientate the correct way?
Mm-hmm.
It will.
When you switch over to portrait mode, no, the live view, I believe, let's try to do it now, actually. I don't think it does on live view, but the end result comes out.
Yeah.
Comes out.
I've tried it. It was months ago when I first got it, and I tried it, and the live view was messed up. And although it was messed up, the picture came out correct.
Yeah, I think the live view is just because in that sense, it's going to be capturing slow motion. I don't know if you're using it for photo booth, but
yes, for photo booth.
Oh, for photo booth. Okay. So I haven't used a vertical lens to shoot like that. I know it does happen on the slow motion side where the live view does appear like it's sideways, but the end result comes out normal as it should. Yeah.
Do you think there'll be a fix for that?
You know, we can request a ticket. Typically the tickets, for sure, I can definitely submit a ticket on that and see what the developer says. I don't see it being a big issue as far as him getting it resolved. So I'll definitely submit something and we'll keep you guys updated.
Okay, thank you.
No problem. Again,
I have a question.
Sure.
How long does the battery last with the DSLR? This is my first time. I have the one that you have now, and I was thinking about using it for an upcoming event because I currently use the GoPro. But how long does the battery last? How many hours do you know?
Yeah, so this battery that I have here, it's a 20,000 milliamp battery. Let me see if I can tag everybody and put some links because people might be wanting the links, right? So let me see if I can do it. But to answer your question, this battery here, I've used it at our expos, which have lasted over 4 or 5 hours in the showroom, right? So it's a pretty large battery, and
I'm referring to the battery in the actual camera that comes with the Canon.
Okay, so maybe you missed the beginning. I'm not too sure.
I did. I'm sorry.
So yeah, so what I'm gonna say is, let me switch over back to the camera because I did show. I'm actually gonna link you to it. Just look at your chat. There's what's called a dummy battery. The dummy battery is basically a battery that gets plugged in with a USB cord. Let me see.
Oh, because you're plugging it into the actual external battery, so that keeps it charged.
Correct. I'm
gonna link. Got you.
I'm gonna link you in the chat right now because
that makes sense.
Okay.
That makes sense. Thank you.
I linked it in the chat for those that want to know. And for those that want to know the exact battery that I use, I'm also going to link that battery. Just bear with me real quick. And I'll link you to the exact battery that I use for this. And I've had great success with this battery for long hours. So I don't foresee your camera or phone dying for that matter with this battery. You know, I'm a little OCD when it comes to this kind of stuff, and I always buy probably extra. So I have a couple batteries that I use, but you know, depending on where you're at and what your situation is, I'd recommend the same. But if you can't get one or a backup for whatever reason, then just have a backup plan always. That's always a good tool to advise, is just have a backup plan and try to get a couple extra cables. They're only a few dollars, because at the very end, the last thing you want to do is refund anybody any money because you don't have a $3 cable or you failed to buy a $10 or $15 equivalent battery or SD card or whatever the case may be. So always have a backup plan for that. So I just linked a couple of items, and I'm going to go ahead and link the dongle as well, because I think people are going to be asking me for the Lightning to adapter. So I gave you the cable, I gave you I just want to make sure you guys get the Apple version. I'm always going to recommend get the Apple dongle, because of the other ones, I don't know what their quality control's like, and I'd hate for you guys to spend some money and have it not work because you're using some inferior knockoffs that they sell on Amazon. So I've also put the link over for the Lightning to USB dongle. Lastly, I'll put the link for that cable that I use as well, the USB-C to, it's a USB-C cable to Lightning. Let me see here. Any other questions that I can answer while I'm inputting some links for you guys? Yeah, it's really not that hard to get the DSLR up and going consistently. As long as you follow those steps, you can run a fail-proof booth almost. The wired connection is the best connection. It's extremely fast. I just uploaded the link to the USB-C to Lightning cables that we use. And lastly, what I'm gonna include is the link to the.
Hey DJ, I don't know if you sent the links in private, because we cannot see it.
Okay, let
Only
me,
the first one was public.
Oh, maybe I just sent them to somebody, huh? Give me 1 second here. I'll look right now. I'm looking for the last link here. Let's see.
I got a question.
Yeah.
If for the when you're doing the 360, right, with the DSLR, so do you recommend a wide angle lens or turn the camera vertical in portrait mode?
Now you're gonna need a wide angle lens of some sort, because if you're gonna try to do it with a stock lens, you're not gonna get the depth of field needed. Your shots will look very zoomed in. You know, you're gonna have to, at that point, for them to look somewhat normal, you might have to extend that arm a little bit too far out, more than what you're going to be comfortable doing. So I would recommend a wide angle lens of some sort for sure.
Yeah, because they be wanting it full body.
Yeah. Wide angle lens is kind of why the iPhone camera and the GoPro lens are great at it, because they have a wide angle option. So if you're going to mimic that type of look with a mirrorless camera, then you're going to want a wide angle lens.
So that would be the 11 by 22, the 11, 22.
Yeah, you can go by 11 by 22 is a great lens. You can.
Okay, because I originally had the 15 by 45, but I just bought the 11 by 22.
Yeah, the 15 by 45, I believe, is a stock lens that comes with all the kits.
Yep.
And it's great if you're going to be using that for regular photo boothing, like regular pictures. That's a good lens to have on there. But if you're going to want slow-mo and want the if you're going to 360, yeah, you're gonna need a little bit more.
Okay, thank you.
No problem. Lastly here, I think okay, let me see if I still have it. Microfi pin. Okay, I do have that link. So a lot of people have been asking about the cable that I use for my camera with the little ferrite. It's called a little ferrite on the side, that little bubble. Here's a link for that. And I was sending all my links directly to somebody. So sorry about that.
And one more thing, the bracket that you use for your phone to hook up for the 360, what bracket is that you use for the phone to hook the phone up?
Well, it depends on what it depends. Every setup is a little different.
Now I'm talking about you doing a 360 with the DSLR,
okay,
and you got to use the phone for the monitor.
Yeah, depending on what phone you have, if you go to Amazon, if you have like an iPhone 12 or 13, look for what's called I'll link you to it as well. It's called a small rig cage, right? But I'll link you to it as well. Let me just finish copying and pasting all these. So hopefully I didn't.
And these links that you're sending out, like
they're in the chat. Those are the direct items that I just showed you that I have personally, right?
So like, will we be able to say the direct links, or you got a screenshot?
Well, no. Right now, if you click on the links, you can probably save them or add them to your Amazon cart since everything's Amazon related. But try to maybe when I upload this webinar later, it'll be on my YouTube. I can include the links in the description as well. And it'll make it a little easier since I'll have everything under the chat. So you were asking for the cage.
Right.
So I'm going to go with iPhone 13 just because probably a lot of people have that. And so I would recommend this for sure. It's what I use for most of my setups. The fact that you can mount them easy on any.
Hey guys, just real quick, this is Chris again. The links that he's sending in the chat, well, if you have Amazon on your phone, it'll actually take you directly to your Amazon. And then from there, you could just add it into your cart.
Yeah, just add them on the cart. I think those are
super easy to do.
Great links for you guys to have. I think, we're trying to give you guys all the tools so you guys can be successful. That's why we have these webinars. And I appreciate a lot of people that are on the call because I know, especially in the East Coast, it's a little late. And, definitely you're putting in the time and effort. So as a reward for that, we want to give you all the tools needed to be able to excel in your business and throw some great output out there. I think a lot of people are great in learning. And as long as you apply what you learn and make it your own, I think you will be successful in this industry. So definitely. Do you guys have any further questions? Anything else that you guys wanted to see? Was that video helpful as far as step-by-step, making sure that, you're dotting all your I's and crossing all your T's? I wanted to show you from the connection process to the setting process to actually loading and how easy it is to load an animated overlay and outro using the background removal, which is already included. The one thing that I did not cover that I guess I can cover is this. If you're thinking about using a DSLR booth or a mirrorless camera booth for your setup, I think this is pretty important because I kind of learned this by trying different methods. So I'm going to pretend this phone here is going to be my iPad photo booth, right? And I'm creating an event that has photo booth functions, but I also wanted to have GIF functions, and I also wanted to have boomerang functions. So although right now I only have it set up for slow-mo and photos, I need you to understand boomerang. boomerang with a mirrorless or DSLR camera. If I go back into the camera subsection, right, let's go in here. I'm gonna actually make the connection real quick. Bear with me.
Hey DJ.
Yeah.
That the link that you sent for the camera cage, I wasn't talking about that. You know, I'm talking about the alligator clamp. You know how you have the 360, so you gotta have your phone used as.
It's not really an alligator clamp. What I have here is, if you look at this cage, this is a cage, and this is just a little swivel. This is a swivel mount that you can get off any device or any camera device, right?
Okay, so, okay, I know what you're saying now.
So this goes through my actual. There's a hole in my arm that it goes through, and I just
like what you're saying now. I use it for the video when I'm doing video.
Yeah, so that's what I use.
Big adapter. Yeah,
that's what I use for that feature. So I'm going to connect my DSLR because I want you guys to see something here. So I'm not going to mess with that. I'm going to hit DSLR. Warning. Should be able to connect rather quick. It's connecting now. Okay. So what I want you guys to understand is, if you guys have the boomerang option on your photo booth, know that the DSLR will record a boomerang. However, right, unlike your camera, which is assisted by a flash or a strobe flash, if you're going to use your mirrorless camera for a boomerang, make sure you have great lighting, or else your boomerangs are going to look dark, right? So typically what I do is I don't use my mirrorless for boomerangs. I just use them for photos. And on this settings here, the setting portion of your camera, there's an option here that says use device camera. And I'm going to use device camera. I'm going to use the front camera for video. So the front camera of my iPad is going to shoot the boomerang because that camera, it's not that it's a better camera, it'll compensate for low lighting better than what you're doing with your mirrorless or DSLR camera that's assisted by a flash. So meaning that when a person hits boomerang, the iPad camera will be used for the boomerang by itself. And when you want photos, it'll trigger the camera with the flash. When you want GIFs, it'll trigger the camera with the flash. But the boomerang function, set it for your iPad camera, and it'll save you a lot of headaches. Hopefully that explained that process.
Oh, that's what's going, Coach.
Any other questions? Anything I can show you guys while you guys have me on the call, or was this pretty self-explanatory? I want to make sure I answered everybody's question that was on this call, right? I want to make sure that you're leaving here with some answers, or at least recognizing what you need to do. I know there was a gentleman in here, it looks like he just left, or he left. He said he was having connection issues, but more than likely his connection issues was either one, he was using an off-brand dongle, two, he was using a faulty USB cable. Let me know if you guys want to see anything else. I'm going to stop that screen share for a minute there and take you to that cage that I use. I like to use this cage because it has a lot of different mounting points where you can mount it on your arm a lot easier. So let's go back into Touchpix. But if you guys want to see anything else that I can explain, maybe what I'm going to do is I'm going to kick it over to Julian. Julian, are you still on? I'd like you to show the users. It's tied into DSLR and the way you're going to be designing overlays. Maybe he can run through a brief tutorial on how to do that. So I don't know how many of you have been in the industry for how many years, right? But I've been in this industry since 2000, I think it was 2000, late 2013, early 2014. So back then I used a computer-based software just for photo boothing. This is way before 360 came into the mix. And back then I had some templates already pre-designed. And these templates were edible templates that I used to use, although Touchpix gives you a great option on how to use certain templates, but maybe some of the options that Touchpix gives you, maybe your client wants something totally different. What are you going to do now? So this is where I want to let Julian kind of kick in and go over something that's very useful. Again, see this as a tool on how to enhance your service to be able to provide something that not a lot of people are capable of doing or just don't want to put in the time in learning how to do it. Julian, are you still on?
Yeah, I'm here, DJ.
Okay, so you can take over the screen whenever, and you can go from there.
Okay, let me share. Let me know when you can see my screen, please.
There we go.
Yeah, can you see it now?
Yep.
Okay, perfect. So as DJ said, Touchpix has some designs for the, let's say more for the photo booth options, because for the 360 videos, we have five different templates, but for photos, we can use multiple designs depending on our client's request. So before I would like to say maybe 2 months ago, we tried to push the new designer. The new designer has a lot of features. One of it is the pre-designs. So you can easily create a design for any event. But when you were trying to upload or to create a custom design, we were struggling a little bit. We were dealing with some bugs, but we already fixed it for you. Okay, so as DJ mentioned, Touchpix has now a pretty good designer, and it's a powerful tool. Okay, so where to find it? You can find two designers. The legacy designer, that is the first one that Touchpix had. Okay, and now we have the designer that is the one that we are trying to push in order to everybody use it. I'm going to join. Here it is. I'm logging into my account, and I'm gonna log in into the designer. Okay, it will ask you to log in, and we are focusing today in creating custom templates. Okay, because are the ones that are not saved, so you can save your own designs and use it as fast as you can. Okay, so as you should know now, you need to select your event first. Okay, and select the type of file that you are looking to create. In this case, we are going to select the photos. Okay, and we have some templates. Okay, portraits, we have landscapes, and we have square. Well, let's say that my customer is requesting something like a Polaroid mini. Okay, so I don't have nothing here that can look like a Polaroid. So we're going to create something customized for that specific customer. Okay, so once I select the photo, I need to create a custom template. Okay, in this case, I'm going to create a mini Polaroid. So I will create it in a landscape mode. Very important is, DJ already mentioned, that you have to create it in certain dimensions. In this case, all the photos has to be in 1844 by 1240 pixels, or 1240 by 1844 if you are going to create portrait or landscape, or if you're going to create the square, it has to be 1844 by 1844. So just be sure that you are designing in that specific dimensions, because if you are not using those dimensions, your design will be kind of, let's say, squeeze or stretch. So be sure that you are using those dimensions, okay? So in this case, I'm going to select the landscape one, okay? This is going to change the preview of that. And this is a blank template, okay? Because it's a custom. We don't have any photo spots or photo locators. We don't have nothing there. So I already designed, I use Photoshop, but if you are not related to Photoshop, as I do, and you want to learn something, but you don't have the Photoshop, you can use one that is called Photopea. It's almost the same, okay? It has the same presentation, the same functions. So what I do here is to create
before you do that, Julian, before you do that, I just want to explain, this is like a great tip that he's offering. If you don't have Photoshop, if you're not paying Photoshop monthly subscription, that should not stop you. Photopea is absolutely free. I don't know how they do it. It's photopea.com. It's almost an exact replica of Photoshop that you're able to use as long as you have a good internet connection. You're able to go to photopea.com, open up your image according to the whatever dimensions you're working with. In this case, Julian explained the dimension size, and it's absolutely free. You don't have to spend another dime in Photoshop. Photopea.com is an excellent tool. Go ahead.
Okay, perfect. So, for instance, in this case, I create a design because I'm going to work with a design that will be looking like a Polaroid mini, okay? So it will be a 4x6, split it in the center. So we have two mini Polaroids, okay? This format is it's becoming very popular right now, okay? So that's why I've selected. So let's say, for instance, here we can create a rectangle and we can change the dimensions here. We're going to properties and we can, create the size. I'm going to put the ones that I have here. Okay. The aspect ratio is linked, so I'm going to remove it. I just want to show you how this works if you don't have Photoshop, okay? So in this case, we just added a new square here that it will be the actual space for the photos, okay? So we can export that file in order to bring it to the Touchpix designer. Okay, once you have the design over there, I'm going to import it in order to have my design loaded. Okay, so I'm going to go to upload my background. Okay, because I just want to create the preset in this case. Okay, because let's say that this is a format that is a regular basis template that I will use in my business. So I will select it and I will have it, I will create it in order to be fast when I create designs. So let me find, here it is. I'm going to load this one that is my preview file. I'm going to upload it. This file for me is including the the width, the height, and the coordinates, X, Y coordinates, okay? So this is a template that I have. So I need to add the photo spaces or the photo spots, okay? So I'm going here to custom templates and I will add, in this case will be the photo A because it's the vertical one, okay? And I'm going to use it duplicated, okay? Before in the first phases or the first steps or the designer, you don't have a way to make it, or the way to make it fit, it was doing something like this, stretching, moving, and this thing was a really big headache, okay? So now it's easier to do it because you will have something that is a layers design. You see this tab on the right? So once you click on it, you will have the ability to set the position and set the size of that photo, okay? This is much easier because as you can see, let me exit from here. Okay, I need to move this. Okay, I have the information here that I bring from Photoshop or Photopea because I already set it.
Can you show them where you got that information for people that are learning how?
Sure. Now in Photopea, okay, remember when I create the square or the rectangle, I'm going here to the letter I in the circle, information, and I'm going to properties. So here you will have the width, the height, and the coordinates. So you can have that information, okay? When I'm doing in Photoshop, I already have it here, okay? In Photoshop also, you select it, Control T, and go to Info. And you have here the coordinates, X and Y, width, and height, okay? So if you are not related to Photoshop or Photopea, maybe it's time to, be related, try to investigate a little bit more because this is a powerful tool. Sorry about it. Yeah. Okay. So going back to the designer, since I already explained you where do we have that information, and go to layers design. I already moved my design here, so I'm going to put it in 0. Okay. Let me put it in 0, and I'm going to put the photo. I'm gonna put the X is the 64, Y is the 64. Here's the information that I'm taking, okay? This is 64, sorry. The width is 819, and in this case, I need to break the link because if not, the ratio will be locked, okay? I break the link and I move it. Now I save the changes and you will see that the preview will bring the photo from here to fit, okay?
Yeah, so this is a little bit more of an advanced feature, but in essence, we're showing you how to create your own custom templates with exact measurements, and everything that he's doing from Photopea or Photoshop or even Canva for that matter, you can obtain those coordinates and you can be ready to plug and play so you can make unique templates to your liking.
Yeah. So in this case, I'm going to duplicate, in order to finish this, I'm going to duplicate this one and I'm going to change again, the coordinates, okay? So this one will be, it's 961 and this one is 64. And you see it? Both photos are there, okay? So in this case, I don't have any design here. It's only my preset, okay? So I'm going to remove my background that was containing the information of the coordinates and dimensions. I delete it, I select it and I delete it. And now I'm going to manage presets, okay? Manage presets here in the top and save preset. And I'm gonna create a name for this and I'm gonna say it's a Polaroid Mini, okay? I save the preset. And let's say that I already create my preset, okay? I'm I will go return to Touchpix because I want you to see that the preset was created. Come back to the designer again. And let's say that for this case, I already have a design that has the same dimensions, okay? I'm going to set photos, select my event, go to manage presets and load the preset. Okay, what you will find in the top, you will see the events presets. These are the events that you have active and all the designs that you already created, okay? These designs, you cannot delete it unless the event was already finished and is deleted from your event list, okay? But what we are interested right now is going to the bottom and you will see user presets, okay? Here you will find the ones that you created. In this case, I'm gonna click it. And this will bring the information that we just created, okay? So let's say I already have a design that I want to upload. I go to manage design, photo overlay, and I'm gonna upload a file from here, okay? I'm gonna say that this is my design. I upload it. Wait a little bit. And you see, you have your overlay, you have your photos already set. You know, this thing, you have to do it one time, and for the next, you can have it created as a preset on your account. So anytime that you get into the designer, you will have it there. So as I mentioned, in the past, this was a big headache because you cannot create the right dimension that you want because you will have to stretch it like this. I'm going to do it again, okay? You will have to stretch it or do something like this and then try to locate it in the right spot. And if I move again this, you know, it's a big mess.
Yeah, you would never be able to do identical photos. And this way, it's giving you the user the freedom to design your own unique custom overlays. You set the preset once, and you can always start using that same template again. So this is kind of a pro level tip. I know a lot of people, you know, are starting, and you know, we just like to give a bunch of information on how to present your business in a unique way. And I think this is a great way of creating just custom templates that are not typically offered. It doesn't have to be mini Polaroids. You can maybe do different setups, but I think this is a great example of how, you know, your creativeness can take the lead on what your output should reflect.
Yeah, this is, you know, you can create, the sky is the limit, you know. So you can create multiple designs with for portrait photos, 4x6, or you can create the strips, whatever you want, and you can have it saved in your account. So it's easily accessible for you.
Do you guys have any questions with this specific setup? I know we went a little off on the designer part, but we wanted to kind of couple it with, this is a great way to offer photo booth sessions, and it'll be like, it can give you creative options in outlining how you want to present your product. But you know, we can definitely revisit this a little bit later as you get acclimated to the software and feel real comfortable about how you're doing things. So at this time, I know it's a little late for a lot of you, but if for those of you that are still remained on, do you guys have any questions with regards to what we covered today? Want to see any last minute examples before we log off? Feel free to unmute. If not, like always, we appreciate you guys taking the time and joining us tonight. And hopefully this webinar was informative. We're going to go ahead and upload this to our YouTube channels. So just be on the lookout for that. I think the DSLR portion, if you follow the video, how it was illustrated, I think you will have no problems. If you need the links for whatever reason, you couldn't capture them, send me an email. And I just created a little Word document that I can shoot you the links if you still need any of the links for the merchandise that was used today. Julian, I don't know if you want to leave your email if they have any questions, but last call for questions. All right. Well, with that being said, I'd like to wish everybody a happy night and get some rest. I know it's a long webinar today, but at the same time, we're here to help you. Next, I think we're back on in 2 weeks. Jessica and Tia, we alternate weeks in English. Jillian and I alternate because we do both English and Spanish webinars. But if you guys would like to get a subject covered, please let us know. That way we can prepare for it and be able to explain how to better use Touchpix to enhance your business. Again, thank you for joining us tonight. Have a great night. And we are hopeful that your business flourishes and you guys, we wish you nothing but success. So thank you guys for joining us.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks.